Okay, I think that I have the signal from the moderators to start the session. I'm hoping you all can hear me. I'm assuming you can. Good morning. My name is Leslie Nobile. I am the Senior Director of Trust and Public Safety at ARIN. I'm very excited to be here today, particularly since today's focus area is cybersecurity, and that directly relates to my work at ARIN. I'm responsible for the engagement, support, and collaboration with law enforcement globally and other public safety organizations and security organizations. Additionally, I am the chair of the Names and Numbers Committee at the Messaging Malware Mobile Anti-Abuse Working Group, or MOG as it's typically known. So this is a really exciting day for me. On behalf of ARIN, I'd like to welcome all of you to the 5th Caribbean Internet Public Policy Forum. Sorry, I'm just readjusting here, excuse me. I'm really happy to be here along with my colleagues and co-hosts from the Caribbean Telecommunications Union and the Latin American and Caribbean Network Information Center, or LACNIC. ARIN has worked very closely with both of these organizations over the years, beginning back in the early 2000s when LACNIC was first established and when Bernadette Lewis was the Secretary General of the CTU. She was essentially our first contact at the CTU. ARIN was heavily involved in supporting the establishment of LACNIC back in 2001. LACNIC actually, ARIN actually managed the LACNIC area prior to the establishment of LACNIC. So we were very, very involved in getting them, spun up. Also around that time in the early 2000s, ARIN began having regular meetings with Bernadette Lewis. She was the Secretary General at the time, and we met with Bernadette and other members of the CTU to explore how ARIN could best support the Caribbean region. The obvious support we offered was supplying IP addresses and getting involved in public policy, but there was so much more to it. So we were meeting very regularly with Bernadette to get a better idea of how and what we could do to support the region. Since that time, our collaboration with both of these organizations in the Caribbean region has become stronger and more focused under the guidance and leadership of Bevel Wooding, who is ARIN's Director of Caribbean Affairs. I think we hired Bevel at least 5 years ago, maybe even longer. I can't remember, but he is very tied into the Caribbean region and really understands the needs of the Caribbean. So he's been just essential in helping ARIN really establish closer bonds with the Caribbean and provide the support that's needed. Today's agenda promises to be extremely interesting, particularly since the focus of today's meeting centers on the very important and highly visible topic area of internet security, and particularly cybersecurity, which is near and dear to everyone's heart. Everyone needs to be fully up to speed and prepared for what's next. So with that, I am going to turn the mic over to our next speaker, who is Kevon Swift with LACNIC. And I do thank you for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the meeting. Thanks so much.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Leslie, for giving us that wonderful welcome just now. As Leslie mentioned, my name is Kevon Swift. I am the Head of Public Safety Affairs at LACNIC, which indeed looks at this issue that we'll be discussing today, cybersecurity. In this particular occasion, I will be replacing my colleague at LACNIC who wanted to do the summary for day one. That's Mr. Miguel Nacho Estrada, our Chief Strategic Relations Officer, but unfortunately, Miguel could not make it this morning due to personal circumstances. So I will lead us through a summary of what we discussed during day one of this 5th Caribbean Internet Public Policy Forum, which took place last week, Thursday, which was the 26th of May. So for the day one of discussions, we had an opening ceremony that was done by Ina Bolin of ARIN and myself, where we provided opening remarks outlining the forum's theme of advancing Caribbean digital development within a changing global context, and underscoring LACNIC's involvement as of this year as a co-organizer of the forum. Secretary General Rodney Taylor highlighted takeaways from last year's forum, including implementation of digital transformation initiatives during the pandemic, improving Caribbean connectivity, and building capacity through the partnership of several telecommunications actors. Secretary General Taylor also made special mention of the ITU SG candidate and current ITUD director, Ms. Doreen Bogdan Martin's speech, in which she put special emphasis on challenges and opportunities for small island developing states for enhancing connectivity and providing meaningful access. Secretary General Taylor also mentioned that the CTU will be conducting a special webinar on digital currencies, which is scheduled for tomorrow, June 3rd. For the keynote address, Bevel Wooding focused on the topic of investing in transformation, in which he unpacked trends, challenges, and opportunities for achieving digital transformation in emerging economies. He provided a practical definition of what digital transformation means and emphasized the importance of continuous innovation to drive such digital transformation. He stated that Caribbean innovation mattered to ensure competitiveness, security, sustainability, and resilience of the region in the face of an evolving world that is replete with increasingly interconnected systems and even more vulnerabilities for smaller populations. Bevel demystified smallness. While smallness is a common characteristic of Caribbean economies, he demonstrated cases where Caribbean people were able to punch above their weight, meaning that they overcame inherent limitations to create innovations with global impact. He broke down the anatomy of innovation systems and provided insights for such systems, including the creation of cultures that cradle capacity, the need for policy context and policy creolization, the usefulness of innovation aids, and striking the balance between local innovation and global vision. In the Q&A, the issues of leveraging existing financial opportunities, sharing innovation stories, including failures that preceded successes, leadership, and youth involvement in digital transformation were discussed among participants. For the first roundtable discussion, which was moderated by myself, this discussion featured oral reports from Dr. Curtis Charles of the UE 5 Island campus, Ms. Ophelia Blanchard from the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, and Ms. Denise White from the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Charles presented the business case for an innovative Bachelor's of Science program that combined the disciplines of economics, data science, innovation management, and computer science to position graduates at a middle level of impact in the workplace and in industry. Ophelia addressed the overhaul of St. Kitts and Nevis's border control application in the midst of the pandemic, which allowed that country to effectively manage passenger flows and public health concerns smoothly. Denise focused her talk on customized measurements for digital transformation from a government perspective, while referring to some international indicators for benchmarking. Questions and comments for this roundtable discussion touched on long-lasting policy and legislation impacts owing to digital transformation during the pandemic, linkages between academia and industry, and the usefulness of mentorship to enhance youth involvement in digital transformation. For the second roundtable discussion, this was moderated by Secretary General Rodney Taylor. He explained the delayed roadmap to WTDC 22. He also said that, as identified through consultation in April 2021, the Caribbean was able to identify priority areas for this WTDC, which included connectivity, digital transformation, enhancing the enabling environment, resource mobilization, and international collaboration. Speakers for this roundtable included Ms. Mavis Johnson-Colley from the Bahamian Telecoms Regulator, Dr. Kim Malaloo from the board of the Trinidad and Tobago Telecoms Regulator, and Mr. Cecil McCain from the government of Jamaica. Mavis addressed recent developments in e-government in the Bahamas, which included 46 services supplied by 12 agencies through a platform named My Gateway. Mavis also indicated that the Bahamian government's priorities included disaster recovery and more integrated government. She outlined the Bahamas' participation in the preparatory steps for WTDC, including its support of 8 CETEL Inter-American proposals, and suggested that the Caribbean strategize its participation at WTDC to be able to sufficiently cover and analyze all issues that may be pertinent to Caribbean digital development. Mavis also gave an opinion on how the region could capitalize on leadership positions at the ITU. Dr. Malalu deconstructed the WTDC process and underscored its implications for Caribbean development. She attested that the WTDC process extends itself to a suite of policy discussions around the region. On the issue of holistic development, Dr. Malalu addressed the need for fit-for-purpose data to inform digital transformation initiatives, strategic alliances among concerned sectors, and the involvement of youth in transformation processes. Cecil called for more Caribbean participation in ITUD beyond Caribbean governments, as he lamented that Caribbean private sector members, civil societies, and universities were not registered as sector members. He expounded on how Caribbean actors could leverage strategy and diplomacy to overcome smallness, using group diplomacy at CETEL to amplify Caribbean interests, and collaborating with the CTU to define common interests and build consensus on issues. Cecil discussed the government of Jamaica's initiatives to provide affordable internet and enhance collaboration across sectors with a view to meeting national access goals. And in the wrap-up of day one, the discussions were concluded with recaps on the recurrent themes such as youth involvement and pooling Caribbean resources together, and also a final review of key Caribbean priorities for WTDC. And therein lies the end of this summary of the day one discussions for the Caribbean Internet Public Policy Forum. I look forward to what we'll be discussing today as it relates to security and data issues. And I do wish all of you a very enjoyable conference and looking forward to your active participation in same. So at this juncture, I'd like to hand the floor over to Mr. Nigel Cassimire, the Deputy SG at the CTU, for his remarks.
Thank you very much, Kevon. And it's my pleasant duty today to welcome all on behalf of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union to day 2 of our Internet Governance Public Policy Forum, where we're working under the theme of advancing Caribbean digital development in a changing global context. This forum, of course, is an annual collaboration that the CTU has had with ARIN. I think this is our fourth public policy forum, where we address internet governance public policy issues for our Caribbean audience. And these are issues that often require some type of governmental or regulatory action. This year, for this year's forum, we are happy to be joined in collaboration by LACNIC, which is the other Caribbean regional internet registry. We have ARIN and LACNIC covering the countries of the Caribbean, essentially. So I think it's quite a good fit for LACNIC to be involved in this public policy forum. I would like to echo our Secretary General's sentiments of thanks and appreciation to ARIN and LACNIC for the collaboration. And we look forward to renewed and rejuvenated partnerships and initiatives through our mutual cooperation. Kevon has reviewed the day 1 proceedings, and one thing I recall from the featured speaker then was the admonition that Caribbean stories need to be told. And really, who better to tell those stories than and our Caribbean people ourselves. So this particular forum is an opportunity for participation with the panelists, with all the attendees and so on. So we urge everyone to be interactive in your participation, to utilize the Q&A facilities and the chat facilities. And as to the extent that it might be feasible, maybe even some spoken interventions. I'm sure everyone is an expert with Zoom by now, but the Q&A and chat are accessed by tabs at the bottom of the Zoom window. So on this second day of our forum, and as Kevon mentioned, the first day was last Thursday, our focus will be on cyber safety, cyber security, cyber crime. And we'll be doing this essentially with 2 roundtables and a feature address. The roundtables will address firstly, dollars and cents behind safeguarding Caribbean networks and information systems. I think we can all appreciate that it's a difficult thing to try to quantify the risks and even the costs of data breaches, and how much should one invest in building trust and confidence of users in the use of the internet. On this particular roundtable, we expect to have perspectives coming from the Internet Society, the Organization of American States agency called CDT, which basically is looks at cybersecurity and what I guess terrorism reduction and so on, but basically misuse of the internet for nefarious purposes. And also we should be getting a perspective from the Ministry of National Security of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The second roundtable will be looking at data governance. And this is where we'll be focusing on privacy and security, or maybe privacy versus security. To what extent can privacy be preserved while having sufficient security safeguards in place? And for that, we'll be hearing speakers from Trinidad and Tobago and Brazil. And well, actually, unfortunately, I think we do not have the UN speaker this morning. So we'll be hearing from speakers from Trinidad and Tobago and Brazil. And as Kevon mentioned, we should have a wrap up at the end of the morning session. Preceding these, however, preceding the roundtables, I mean, we would be having a feature address where on ensuring effective cyber justice in the Caribbean. Of course, this question arises as technology has advanced, excuse me, along with the scope of criminal enterprise. Criminals now are as high-tech as the rest of us are. And we would be wondering, has law enforcement kept pace? Can we be confident users of digital technologies, secure in the adequacy of our cybersecurity measures, that they'll keep us safe? And are we happy to rely on the effectiveness of law enforcement to deal with any bad actors that might be out there? And in examining this, we must consider as well, are there particular challenges we need to address in the Caribbean, or particular shortcomings that need to be addressed? And taking us through this, our featured speaker is Mr. Daniel Ackerman, who is an international computer hacking and intellectual property advisor with the United States Department of Justice. Following Daniel's address, there will be a Q&A, and that Q&A session would be facilitated by Mr. Einar Bolin, who is ARIN's Vice President of Government Affairs. So we have, I think, an interesting morning in prospect. And I would like to get us started now in earnest by introducing Mr. Daniel Ackerman. As mentioned, the International Computer Hacking and Intellectual Property Advisor with the US Department of Justice, who will address us on the topic of ensuring effective cyber justice in the Caribbean. So, Daniel, thank you. Over to you.